you adopt, or I adopted a lot of my values from successful people that get results at the things I want to do. It's really as simple as it is. I study people who are successful at what I want to do, and I study them not only for their skills and what they do behaviorally, but I study them for the way that they think. So I listen to the words that they say. I listen to the things that they get emotional about. Somebody might ask them about like their dad or something, and you instantly see them light up. Or they might ask them about how they grew up, and you might see them like kind of go down in energy. But those things are clearly important times in their life, and they're going to be able to teach you a lot of lessons from those experiences. That's why I pay attention when I see people get emotional. The third thing is I listen to the stories that people tell. Sometimes they tell stories that they're really passionate about or are really detailed. So they've thought about this a lot. They've learned a lot from this, and that's going to tell you a lot of how they think. And I literally take the ideas from other people and I wire them into my brain. Things that are going to be successful or make me successful, be effective for me. Things such as only do, believe, and say that which moves me towards my goals. That's a belief from Tom Bilyeu, right? These beliefs come from people like, for me, Naval Ravikant, Charlie Munger, Tom Bilyeu, Alex Hormozy. A lot of these other different individuals, they've taught me things through their content, through their books, through their videos, through their courses, whatever it may be, through their speaking in real life. And this is not just exclusive to influencers and big creators and people like this. I learned from homeless people. Like a homeless guy might not be able to teach you how to make money, but he might be amazing at building relationships. For some reason, you can learn from everybody because everybody knows something you don't. And they know that because they've put in time and effort in that area that you couldn't have possibly put in yourself. So a lot of people have wisdom and experience just because they're old and they've been through a lot of things. And so you can learn what are people good at and how can I ask them questions about that thing so they just ramble on about it. Things that people are good at, they usually are actually passionate about as well. So if you can figure those things out, if somebody's good at video games and you start asking them like, well, what does video games do? How does that help you in your life? What does it make you feel? They'll start going on and on and on and on, but he might talk about nothing else. This might be the same person who's antisocial introvert. Second you get him talking about video games, he won't shut up. So everybody's extroverted about the thing that they love. So figure out the things that people are good at and ask them about them. I tell my friends, make people your temporary mentors. You might never see this person again, but learn from them. Learn from them because it not only serves them and makes them feel good to talk about things they're good at and to teach somebody else something they know, but it also makes you better. It makes you a more experienced, worldly person if you just learn from every person you come into contact with. So the way that I've adopted my values and created values in my life, and what is a value, by the way? A value is like a belief. It is a line of code that you have in your brain that dictates your behaviors. So if I believe something such as only do, say, and believe that which moves me towards my goals, that's going to dictate a lot of the decisions I make. So values help you make decisions. Values help you decide actions to take. But now for me, since I believe that, I don't do that which moves me away from my goals. I don't do, say, or believe that which moves me away from my goals. So if somebody's telling me to do something, I ask myself, well, what are my goals? Does this move me towards our way? And then I can easily make that decision. Right? Charlie Munger or Ray Dalio, he said, create mental models for your life. Mental models are values. Values you can think through every time. Because he said they help you make decisions quickly, confidently, and competently. Okay, quickly. I can make the decision fast. Is this good or bad for my goals? Okay, if it's bad, not doing it. If it's good, doing it. All right? Quickly, competently, and confidently. I can be certain I'm going to produce a good result if I make this decision because every single time I make this decision, I do it like this and it works. And competently, meaning I'll make this decision successfully because in the past I failed at this or I was successful at this. I created a value for this, and that's the other place where I get my values from. I was about to go to that in just a second. But I've created a value for this in the past. I know if I follow this rule, basically, that's all it is, it's a rule. If I follow this rule, then I'll be successful at this. That's why you can make them quickly, competently, and confidently. And so that brings us to the second and final place where I create most of my values from. So not only reading books and courses and learning from successful people, but also from my own life experience. What I fail at and what I'm successful at helps me create my values. Meaning if I do something and it works, I'll say, what did I do to get that result? How was I thinking to produce this result? How can I make that a rule or a value that I can follow for the rest of my life? One of my mentors said, learn from every experience you have, good or bad, because you'll be surprised how many times you cross the same bridges in life. So when you fail or when you're successful, ask yourself, what was I thinking? How did I think to produce that failure, produce that success? And if it's a failure, ask yourself, how can I create a value that keeps me away from making that failure? Right? Somebody said before, never make the same mistake twice. Somebody else said, never make the same mistake once. Because if you make the same mistake once, that means you already made it one time. So I think it was Coach Wooden that said that. So never make the same mistake twice. That's from creating values, creating rules to follow to not make that mistake again. In relationships, in your health and fitness, in your business, etc., in your life. And then when you're successful, do the same exact thing. That is how you create values for your life.